Example 2 asks for you to use factoring to find the solution of an equation. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on it so we can see it a little easier. Now notice that there is not a number written in front of the x squared. All right, there's a 1 here. And so when you have a 1 there, you could use what I call double bubble factoring, or other teachers teach it with a concept called x factoring. If your teacher taught you with x factoring, you should probably watch another video. I'm just going to show it to you with double bubble. So what double bubble does is it's creating two sets of parentheses. Those are my bubbles. All right, and I'm figuring out what values should go in here. So the first thing is to get an x squared, I have to think what was multiplied together to make x squared. Well, I could have either x squared and 1, or I could have x and x. Because there's a b term that has just an x in there, I know it couldn't be x squared and 1 because I need something that would split the x. This first sign, this minus that's here, I call that the fall down sign. So it just falls down into the first set of parentheses. It doesn't change. This second sign I call the choice sign. So that second sign is in charge of two things. All right, the choice sign tells you here that you'll be adding to make the value. All right. It also tells you whether you should have a plus or a minus here in the second set of parentheses. So to get a positive 21, I would need to multiply either a negative times a negative or a positive times a positive. But since I know I already have a minus here, I'm going to keep it as a minus here as well. Another way to remember it, if there's a plus, they need to match. If there's a minus, they have to be opposites in the parentheses. All right, so now I'm going to go to my t-table here. So I'm finding the factors of my c value, which is 21. And the choice sign says that I need them to add to make this number 10. So the reason why I let the choice sign choose whether I'm adding or subtracting means that I don't have to consider the positive and negative factors of 21, and it makes it possible for me to ignore that minus that's here. I think it's a little easier, but different teachers teach it in different ways. All right, so the factors of 21. I know I have 1 and 21. It's not divisible by 2. 3 and 7. It's not divisible by 4, not divisible by 5, not divisible by 6. And since that brings me up to the 7 again, that tells me I have my entire factor list. So now I'm going to add these values. So 1 plus 21 is 22, and 3 plus 7 is 10. So because the 3 and the 7 add up to the 10 that I want, I'm going to put them in this blank. Generally, I put the big number first. It doesn't really matter in this case because our parentheses are the same. But if I had a positive sign and a negative sign, it would matter which one went with your fall down sign. The bigger number always goes with your fall down sign. All right, so for our second example, let's give it a shot. So again, I set up my double bubbles. Oh! Silly goose, may as well jump on in the pond. I didn't find the solution. Whoo, friends. Remember, a solution is like x equals a number. So I didn't quite finish this problem. We'll get to that double bubble in a second downstairs. All right. So to find the solution, we're using something called the zero product property. So the zero product property says if you have two things that are being multiplied together, and the product is 0, or they equal 0, then either one or both of these has to equal 0. So what I'm doing is I'm making these little mini equations by setting each set of parentheses equal to 0, and that will give me my two solutions. So on this side, to get rid of the minus 7, I'm adding 7 to each side, which is where I get x equals 7. And on this side, to undo the subtraction of 3, I add 3. And those are my two solutions. My bad there. So now on the second problem, let's go ahead and double bubble. So I have my x squared, so I fill in an x and an x. My fall down sign is a plus, so it falls into the second set of the first set of parentheses. And then my choice sign is a minus, so that means that on my t-table I'll be subtracting my values. All right? And to get a negative 44, I have to multiply a positive and a negative number. So I already have the plus for the positive number, so I need a minus for the negative number. So now that we have our signs set up, we go to our t-table. So I'm finding the factors of c, which is 44, that subtract to make b, which is 7. All right, so 44, I'm finding my factors. I know 1 and 44 because 1 goes into everything. If I try 2, it goes in 22 times. It doesn't go in 3 times. If I do 4, I get 11. It's not divisible by 5, not divisible by 6, not divisible by 7, by 8, by 9, by 10. That brings me to 11, so I have a full factor list. And now I just subtract across. All right, I'm going to do the big number minus the little number. So 44 minus 1 is 43. 22 minus 2 is 20. And 11 minus 4 is 7. So that tells me that the 4 and the 11 are the values that I want. And remember, the bigger number goes with your fall down sign. So my 11 comes here with that dropping sign. And my 4 goes in the other parenthesis. If I had flipped those, and when I go back to check myself, this would have turned it into a negative 7 if the 11 and 4 were flopped. Alright, so then I want to find my solutions. So I'm going to use the zero product property. So I'm going to say x plus 11 equals 0. And I'm going to say x minus 4 equals 0. And I'm going to solve these mini equations. So on this side, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 11 from each side of the equation. And that gets me negative 11 from one solution. And then here, to undo the subtraction, I add 4. Which gives me x equals 4. So those are my two solutions.